we have a panel that is quite special today actually. In the studio is Manisha Pande. From her city, Chennai, is Jayashree. Also joining us is Professor Ravikant Kisana. We have an old friend joining us, Mehraj.
Hello.
The origins of divide and rule do not come to us from Hindu-Muslim politics. It comes to us from caste politics, because that was the original thing that the Brahmins said, that the British are trying to divide us and rule us.
So they basically copied what Prime Minister Modi said on Sunday.
Kind of, exactly. In fact, Modi has copied
No, you cannot say that.
Yes, you're right.
27.1%, backward castes, unreserved 15.5%, Baniya, Kayast, etc. Kayast is just 0.6% actually. How unrepresentative or how badly represented some of the most populous castes are in our growing up years.
So you have a 60% of the population which is not represented everywhere. The economic pie isn't getting divided equally. So that discourse builds over time. Like, say for example, the Supreme Court has put a very arbitrary limit on reservations of 50%. Next time that case comes up, a similar case comes up, and you go to the Supreme Court and you say, why 50%? The population is 75%. What is the logic for that?
It'll certainly change a lot of internal dynamics in BJP also, I think. And that'll be very interesting to see, because if you do something like this in UP, it's a very valid question, why do we have a Thakur CM? If the BJP comes back to power on the dint of OBC votes, Dalit votes, why do you have a CM who represents like 3 or 2% of the population?
Now moving on to, I got a call at about 7:15 in the morning saying that, Abhinandan sir, mere ghar police aayi hui hai. What am I supposed to do? You've been through this? I was like, why have they come to your house? He's saying, I don't know, they're saying they want to interrogate me regarding something. They want my phone and laptop. I said, to the best of my knowledge, you don't want to give it. Then the cop came online. He said, aap kaun hai? Maine kaha, main friend hu and I'm experienced in such matters.
My dad called me the other day and he was like, oh, but this did not happen to you. Okay, I should say all this because my mother listens to Hafta, but whatever. So he was like, oh, it won't happen to you, right? And I was like, it's not that NewsClick is actively meeting with Chinese agents in some corner of Delhi. This is not the accusation. Like, the accusation could be leveled against anyone.
There's a lot of Vivek Agnihotri hate on this show. Okay, I must protest. I think he is a modern day icon, and I think I will write to him and say that he should make Newslaundry files, and like that will be his next release.
Welcome to Chhota Hafta. Now, Chhota Hafta is but a small, chhota version of a complete weekly podcast, Newslaundry Hafta. The Newslaundry Hafta is where you get the week's news, what made the headlines, what didn't make the headlines, but the full version is available to subscribers only. And I don't mean YouTube subscribers, although YouTube subscribers are also very welcome, very, very grateful to you, but also to Newslaundry subscribers, the paying subscribers who pay to keep news free. So you can also become a paying subscriber by clicking the subscription link. Now, what do you get if you're a paying subscriber? You get access to all our paywall content, all interviews, podcasts, and importantly, you get access to a full unedited Hafta, where you not only get to hear the week's news, but you get to hear the Newslaundry editors' positions on matters. You get to see their biases, what are their prejudices. It's an exercise in transparency while also informing you, and we have a few quips and jokes and agreements and disagreements thrown in. So listen to the full Hafta, subscribe to Newslaundry, and pay to keep news free. Here we go. अंग्रेज अपना लगान और न्यूज़लॉन्ड्री अपना हफ्ता कभी नहीं छोड़ते. Welcome to another episode of NL Hafta from an extremely news-packed week. In fact, the last 2-3 days have been packed with more news than we know what to do with, while also being involved with protests because of the assaults on press freedom, which we shall discuss. We record this on Thursday, the 5th of October at 2 in the afternoon. Judging by the way the week has gone, lots more may happen in the next 2 days, which may not find its way into the recording by the time this goes online. Big newsmaker of the weekend, caste census.
So this idea that you use census data to bring in marginalized groups and make them stakeholders in power systems is actually a colonial invention. I think 1857 is where the British kind of really figure out that they did not see a uprising of this scale coming up. And one of the discussions that happens in London after that is like, how did we miss this? And they undertake like huge amounts of exploration on the Indian subcontinent, 1860s, 1870s. You have geographical surveys being done, all kinds of things, including the census. And what we start seeing from 1871, 1881, 1891 is that the British census is telling them that some of their assumptions about their Indian territories are fundamentally wrong. One of the things that they assume is that Brahmins are about 30 to 40% of the population. The census is returning them data consistently saying this is not the case. And by the 1890s, the British are very certain that they need to bring other groups and into the framework. And therein comes this idea that you use data, you use the caste census data.
Jinnah's argument was that thanks mainly to the efforts of Gandhi, there had been created this like vast permanent Hindu majority, and if Muslims were to stay in India, they would never get political power because you have like 80% to 20% population. But over time, after independence, thanks to the efforts of like leaders like Ambedkar, and more recently efforts of OBC leaders like Lalu Prasad, Mulayam Singh Yadav, Dalit leaders, Mayawati, that coalition, that permanent majority kind of fractured a bit. And the genius of Modi and his BJP is that they essentially recreated that permanent majority all over again. How they did that, that's a separate point of discussion, but they did create that. And the initial response of all these, Congress and all the other parties was they tried to play BJP on their terms, right? So they were trying to, welfare against welfare, soft Hindutva, all that stuff, like marginalization of Muslims and stuff and all that. And that became a strategy with diminishing returns. Now this thing, what they have done now with this, if actually it like has any impact, they have struck at the very kind of the fundamental, power structure of what the modern BJP is built on. Their electoral dominance is built on that.
I think Modi's response shows how rattled he is. This is not a path that BJP thought opposition would go down. And it's not just that the BJP was trying to stop this. Let's remember that Congress is the main party who created this policy and sustained this policy of caste agnostic census for decades. And this is not a path that they have gone down willingly. In fact, it has taken 9 years of Modi's absolute ruthless, machinery kind of rolling through the Congress. They've won elections where they lose it, they steal power, they break parties, they harass. Like the total domination, it's finally pushed the opposition into this kind of a consensus where they've had to go down this road. We forget that Rahul Gandhi was launched in his political career not against Modi but against Mayawati. He made his debut in UP. He was going around dining and staying over at Dalit Basti households in UP. That the whole discourse was being set like
We should be under no delusion that the BJP is not aware of these caste realities. No political party today can go into an election not being aware of different caste permutation combinations, and they don't need a caste census for it. So when a BJP comes back to UP, for example, it comes back on the power of fragmenting OBC castes, right? So it's a cliche to hear non-Yadav OBCs. Throughout elections, you hear that. So the BJP is very aware. So, this whole question of is it going to dent their politics? Does it come as a shocker to them? I don't think so. And which is why you see constant efforts to bring in, fragment a larger sort of a Bahujan solidarity and fragment castes and get significant castes and subcastes within the large OBC chunk to their side.
No, I don't think any political party will be stunned. I just think that, you knowing something is one thing. Everybody knowing it is a different thing, right? The expectations change.
Will people get to know?
I don't think they pay bloody dozens of crores, if not scores of crores to, these agencies to figure out, micro fragment each constituency in this neighborhood, who stays in this neighborhood. So they know that. But me knowing
also,
is one
you're
thing.
forgetting they have 2011 data. They
Right.
did the caste census in 2011. It has
Yeah.
never been released. The official
Yeah,
status is
exactly.
that it can't be released. Its data is corrupt, but they have it.
I'm seeing some arguments where people are saying that, oh, but we should remember that Nitish Kumar is only doing this for political gain. And just the stupidity of that argument always blows my mind,
Because
because
he's a
there
saint
are many
who
good
should
and
like.
correct things that have a political impact. Like right now, we think only things like bigotry and arresting journalists, these are electoral strategies. But there are age-old electoral strategies that do benefit people. And so when people say things like, oh, now Nitish Kumar will use this as a plank of social justice, yes, that's good. Like, if you use social justice as a pejorative term, then yeah, we already know the shape of society that you wish to see. But to use this, the fact that this data is out is great. And the fact that other parties are also now pushing for caste censuses is great. Like, this is something that should be encouraged. The more we know, the better it is.
There's a Monu Manesar video profile that we did. It's almost topped up. Thank you, those of you who did hear our appeal last week and topped it up. We are just about 1 lakh short, so I would appreciate if you top that up as well, because we don't take any ads. And as you know, today pretty much most of media is running on the ads of some government or the other, or Modi ji's smiling face, or a Patanjali, a Reliance, an Adani, and we don't do all that. So do click on the subscribe button and pay to keep news free, because when the public pays, the public is served. Go to the Monu Manesar video Sena link and contribute there as well. Now moving on to there were raids. The police official statement said I think 34 men and 7 women were interrogated.
Suspects, male suspects and female suspects.
They were called suspects?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So a total of about 45. And Prabir and his HR head have been arrested. The rest have to, today Abhisar and Paronja had to go, tomorrow 2 other people. They'll have to be interrogated every day. The pushback has been significant. Digipub, of which Newslaundry is also part, is a list of 26 journalists and media outfits from across the country that have written to the Chief Justice. Now, why this ridiculous charge? Even people who may have had problems with NewsClick and their coverage earlier surely cannot say that this is fine, terrorism. And of course, if Republic today did this long, not today, every day they're doing it, that this so-called independent, they're using this to attack all digital media, that the only credible digital media is nationalist media, that is...
No, and he's also launching Republic Digital Media. So he said, coincidence, we are launching to take on this anti-national gang.
Anti-national digital media.
Same week as
And
police
they're
action.
saying-
Yes, we are seeing variations of the same things again, because we said the same thing when Zubair was arrested, when Siddiq Kapan was arrested, when Disha Ravi, whom we've all forgotten about. It took me a few minutes to remember her name. Like, who was that toolkit girl? It was Disha Ravi. When Disha Ravi was arrested, when Umar Khalid remains in jail. So, and all of this would be we're laughing now at this entire Neville Singham is one shadowy figure, in a computer in the corner of NewsClick office, telling them, take down the story, don't publish the story, because it's the sort of thing that they're telling us is happening. But we have no choice but to be repetitive when the same patterns of repression are also repeating themselves. You cannot find new forms of criticism when the same thing is happening week in and week out. And I think this entire McCarthyism parallel is perfect.
Honestly, like we've read and heard and reported on and commented on so many of these things, but this week I really felt tired while writing the Newson script. I genuinely felt like there's no point. There's no point of doing this because it just reads like a terrible Vivek Agnihotri plot, You start this whole NewsClick thing from 2020 where you're investigating an FDI violation, where supposedly money has come into NewsClick and FDI norms have been flouted. It's been 3 years in digital India where if money is coming in, it's coming to an account. It's easily traceable what norms were flouted. We still don't know what FDI norms were flouted. We don't know what ED was able to find from 2021 onwards. And honestly, when there's a violation, it should not take you 3 years. And suddenly, the whole attention has now shifted from an FDI norm violation to a terror angle. And the remand application that the Delhi police has, given to the court to interrogate is laughable. There is guilt by association that Prabir knew Gautam Navlakha since 1991. Who is Gautam Navlakha? He is charged. Again, there's another UAPA on him in the Bhima Koregaon case where he is supposed to be an anti-national. Nothing proved against him. He's under house arrest.
So one thing what Manisha was talking about, why is this happening? They're supposed to do it in a certain way, but that's not being followed because we have repeated this a lot of times on this podcast only, because the process is the punishment, right? You don't expect any of these guys to be like actually held up in a court of law and then punished, due process and all of that. The other sort of a scarier aspect of this is that this time what makes us different from other sort of similar actions is that they have gone even after like very junior people.
Yeah.
People who just wrote a couple of stories, who contributed a couple of stories.
We will take the recommendations of the panel. What might enrich the lives of our listeners, Professor, that you can think of?
I think there is a modern classic that people have overlooked. It's this film called Buddha in a Traffic Jam by Vivek Agnihotri. And it has this particular song which I think speaks to our times. It's called I'm a Bitch. Okay. In this song, there is this woman, it's a feminist anthem of our times, where this woman gets drunk and says that she's a bitch, she's a lover, or something of that sort. Like, it's stolen by some 90s pop star,
Song,
like,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
retroactively. It's
Right.
so anybody who's looking for making meaning out of these troubled times and like end of days and things like that, please go see Buddha in a Traffic Jam.
बस मुफ्त में इतना ही मिलेगा. For the full uncut podcast, subscribe to News Laundry and pay to keep news free. The best way to listen to the Hafta and indeed all our podcasts is through the News Laundry app. You can download the app by clicking on the links given in the show notes. So do download our app and get the best podcast experience. And also pay for news and support a new news media ecosystem that News Laundry is trying to encourage, where we are accountable to you because we run on contributions that you make. We don't take government ads, we don't take corporations ads, so that news serves the public, because when the public pays, the public is served. Subscribe to News Laundry, click on the link in the show notes below and proudly say, I pay to keep news free.